Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to another episode of the Scott Hamilton Show. National Signing Day used to be a tentpole day, a big day, not only in college football, but in sports in general. But now it's kind of an afterthought. The National Signing Day isn't a thing. I mean, it's a thing, but it's not a thing. It's a shame on how it's been marginalized by all the changes in college sports, college athletics in general. Now it's just like, really? Okay. But it's part of a bigger problem with college athletics that we continue to discuss here and everybody discusses. I mean, there's so many things wrong with college. For all the good in college athletics, there are a lot of things that are wrong. It's happening at a tremendous pace. Things are getting out of control. We're going to discuss these issues and more. We've got Rick Neuheisel, former coach at Colorado, Washington, UCLA, now an analyst for CBS Sports and SiriusXM. He's going to join us in a moment. I want to get his thoughts on some of the things ailing college sports, talk about some of the good in college sports, and also ask him why he's coaching again. He's in the UFL coaching, handling the team down in Dallas. What's it take to lure a guy who's been out of coaching for a while, who's got pretty good jobs with CBS, with SiriusXM, pretty much does whatever he wants, when he wants, however he wants, go play golf, do this and that. Why do you come back to coach, especially in a minor league? It's not the NFL. It's not Power 5. It's not a G5. It's the UFL. Why do you do that? We'll ask Rick Neuheisel that question when he comes aboard. First, though, let's get to some headlines. And again, it is National Signing Day. And it used to be such a big moment. Coaches, I mean, it was a big deal. Coaches, huddling around fax machines all day, waiting to get that national letter of intent, that binding contract that once you got that, you're like, man, yes, we got him. And then the only thing to do after that was to get the athlete actually on campus. Well, now we know neither of those really means a whole heck of a lot in this world of tampering and so forth. But there was a time when National Signing Day was the day. Futures set, careers set, just the anticipation or the disappointment. It goes both ways. The drama, oh, this guy didn't sign. He didn't turn in his paperwork. Or he flipped. This recruit flipped, and it's a big win for State U's arch rival. To a degree now, yes, but not nearly as much as it was before the advent of the transfer portal. Rankings, and our friend Tom Luganville at ESPN, he has a big hand at putting these together. ESPN's top 3 winners, I guess that's a way to say it, the way they ranked recruiting classes for the 2026 National Signing Day. Southern Cal number 1, Oregon 2, Texas 3. It's the first time a non-SEC team has been atop these rankings since Clemson back in 2020. Good news is they're number 1 in something. Bad news is, well, we know how that's worked out since the SEC hasn't played for the national championship in a few years now. So winning these don't necessarily guarantee that you're going to have championship level success. Also, some of the air sucked out of this because each of ESPN's top 100 recruits had already signed. You have the early signing day in December when most guys put pen to paper. So the drama that I was alluding to earlier, it's already gone. It's like, okay. I mean, there's still guys to get, make no mistake about it. But it doesn't have that like it used to have. It's all about the portal. It is, even though the portal is only part of the equation. I mean, we see programs get flipped with the portal, but even then there's some kind of core to it. If there's going to be any kind of longevity, there has to be core to it. Now, people talk about Indiana. Oh, well, they had all these guys transfer in and blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, they did. But they kind of like those guys had been together, like most of them from James Madison for a long time, and they had the same coaches. So it's almost like they picked up James Madison, and then they got these ancillary pieces to complement them. Fernando Mendoza, guys like that. We see how portal madness works for some programs that try to do it entirely. Colorado. We're finding out now just how good Travis Hunter and Shadur Sanders really were, because otherwise Colorado is not good. And the strategy of building the team completely through the portal failed. And now, 4 years into Deion's tenure with the Buffaloes, they got nothing. So you have to have this foundation, the underpinning, and you bring guys in. Presumably, you want to keep them, which is becoming more and more difficult, and you let them develop, and they become the foundation for your program going forward. And you complement them with guys out of the portal. You find out, oh, well, I need a linebacker, so you go and you get a linebacker out of the portal. So you still have to succeed at recruiting. Make no mistake about it. But one thing is, and Alabama's for decades, Georgia for a long time, under Kirby, blah blah blah. They were masters of recruiting in bulk. They were able to have 5 stars backing up 5 stars, backing up 5 stars. You can't hoard that kind of talent anymore. You just can't do it. Not with NIL, revenue share, and all that. There's more opportunity elsewhere. So the talent's more evened out, and we've got this incredible age of parity as a result for it. And I don't hate it. And I have a feeling that's something Rick Neuheisel will tell us later, that he doesn't hate the game. He's just hating some of the players or lack of leadership. We'll find out exactly what Rick thinks in a moment. Some more college football news out of Knoxville. Joey Aguiar. We talked about him in our last episode. He's trying to get a 6th year of eligibility. Remember, he went to one JUCO and redshirted. The next year there was no program because of COVID. Transferred to another JUCO, played 2 years, then played 2 years at Appalachian State. Transfers to Tennessee, played last year. He's wanting a 6th year, and who could blame him? His attorneys are arguing he can make around $2 million playing for the Vols this year, probably more. He got his temporary restraining order, so he's going to get a hearing. He's going to get a hearing. There's going to be an injunction hearing, more than likely scheduled for February 13th. And he's a good one. 3,500 yards, 24 touchdowns, 10 interceptions for Tennessee last year. Vols won 8 games, and it seemed like a disappointment. But having your quarterback returning is a huge coup for Josh Heupel and any program, really. So be curious to see how that plays out. And it's not the last, and we're going to keep seeing this. We're still waiting to hear about Trinidad Chambliss down at Ole Miss. How's his case going to be resolved? Will he be coming back to play at Ole Miss? And if he doesn't, who's going to be Ole Miss's quarterback? Oh, speaking of Ole Miss, again, something we'll talk about with Rick Neuheisel. We're not hearing anything about the tampering allegations made by Clemson. Nothing coming out of Oxford, nothing coming out of Clemson. And when it's this quiet, it usually means that something is coming. And if I had to bet, one, I think there's going to be some kind of legal recourse for Clemson to take. That I really do. I think they'll seek some kind of damages from Ole Miss over this because they put them in a bind. They had invested a lot of time and resources into bringing Luke Forelli to Clemson. Had him on campus, had him in class, and usually when you're in class, you're like, you got him. Well, he's getting text messages from Ole Miss coach Pete Golding. And then when they got him, they stopped recruiting other linebackers, which puts next season, on shaky ground, at least for that position. I see them trying to get something out of this, some kind of damages, and I'm not going to say they don't deserve it because the whole deal stunk. We're asking Rick Neuheisel what he thought about it when he joins us later in the program. Another bit of news, and we've talked about this quite a bit. Charles Bediako at Alabama, the former Alabama player who went to the pros and then came back to Alabama, playing on a temporary restraining order right now. He's got his hearing on Friday, his injunction hearing, to determine how he'll spend the rest of this season. He's wanting to get pushed back a week. He's wanting to get another week of it so his attorney can continue to prepare their case. Don't forget, his hearing is on Friday. On Saturday, the Tide play at Auburn. Kind of a big deal in those parts. To be determined if he's successful in getting that pushed back or not. We'll keep you posted on that. And one more headline, and it's a sad one. The Washington Post with massive layoffs in its sports department. And this one hits close to home because A, I know some of these folks, and B, the Washington Post, no matter what you think politically or whatnot, journalistically, man, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. Some of the best writers ever, reporters ever, worked at the Washington Post. I remember when Ben Bradley died, the famous editor of the Washington Post. Jason Robards played him in all the President's Men. When he died, I woke up that next morning. I think it was a Saturday, and I had a text message from Christine Brennan, friend of mine and sports columnist for USA Today. She's actually in Italy right now for the Winter Olympics. This is like her 30th or 40th Olympics. It's ridiculous how many she's covered, summer and winter. But her text message was a picture of her and Ben Bradley, because she had worked at the Post early in her career. Just shaking my head, and I'm like, wow, that's like getting a picture with Elvis. It's like getting a picture with Mickey Mantle or something. I mean, that was absolutely phenomenal. You think about the writers that came through there: Sally Jenkins, Thomas Boswell, the great John Feinstein. I knew John pretty well. We lost him, I believe, about a year ago. It's a tremendous blow to journalism. It's a tremendous blow to sports journalism. And I know they're losing money. And I know the product hadn't really adapted to the modern audience or the modern reader the way it should have. But it sucks, man. It sucks. It's a tough one. And it's a reminder. It's a reminder of how quickly we are evolving as a society. I mean, faster than at any other point in human history. That's a fact. And we've got to figure out ways to keep up. And perfect professional segue here. Kind of mirrors what's going on in college athletics. Things are evolving at a breakneck pace. Puts a lot of pressure on a lot of people, including our leaders. They've got to be able to identify what's happening and figure out how to adapt on the fly and prepare for what's next. And that's a tough balancing act. We'll ask Rick Neuheisel, former coach and now analyst for CBS Sports and SiriusXM, what he thinks on the other side. Stick around. More of the Scott Hamilton Show to come.
Sports fans, it's time to gear up. Head to fanstreamsports.com and check out our brand new merchandise store. We're talking bold t-shirts, 3/4 zips, hoodies, hats, mugs, and more. Everything you need to rep your favorite shows and your favorite crew. Whether you're rolling with the JP Peterson Show in Tampa Bay, From the Rough in Dallas, the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall, or the Jeff Thidoff Show in Ohio, or any of our FanStream Sports original programming, we've got the perfect look for game day and every day. So don't wait. FanStreamSports.com. Click merch and grab your gear now. Wear the stream, live the stream. FanStreamSports.com.
Welcome back. And got the news this morning, Joey Aguiar. Joey Aguiar is going to play, or at least he's taken another step towards playing yet another year of college football. So that makes 2 at the junior college level, 2 at App State, and then 1 at UT and perhaps another at UT. I have myriad thoughts on this. I could go on and on and on, but my opinion isn't as highly esteemed as that of our guest. Rick Neuheisel, let me ask you this. What is your instant reaction to hearing Joey Aguiar is 1 step closer to having another year of college football?
Well, I think we got to be careful that we don't hate the player. We may be just really tired of the game. And the game is right now, how do I keep and sustain this opportunity to earn, boatloads of money? I think he told the judge in this case that he can earn $2 million to be the quarterback at Tennessee again, or at least compete for the job. And who can, fault him for wanting that opportunity, especially when there are those around him who are doing the exact same thing. Trinidad Chambliss is trying to get an extra year at Ole Miss, and on it goes. There's a number of people. Diego Pavia has been a kind of a poster child for this in terms of elongating a career by demanding that, hey, at the early portion of my career when I was part of a junior college program, I wasn't given the opportunity to earn name, image, and likeness money, and now I am. So you're hurting me, you're damaging me if you don't allow me to have this opportunity. But it's saying nothing about the youngster who's out there wanting to play college football, who now doesn't have a spot. The nameless and the faceless are the ones that are getting hurt here. And I think it just speaks again to the lack of preparation we have for the current climate of student athlete, the lack of preparation we have for rules that we're going to enforce as to what eligibility actually is. And I think that the leaders of the collegiate game in all sports have to come together and decide what are the parameters, what do we want this to be. And since these kids are earning money, it now is, to me, the genie's out of the bottle. We've got to deal with these kids as employees. I know we don't like that word, and workman's comp issues and all that kind of stuff, rear their ugly head, and people don't want to get into all that. But we get into all that with every employee on campus. I don't know why this is any different. And while it might be painstaking, I think the work needs to be done, because once we designate them employees, now we can go to a bargaining table and put arms around what is fair, as to what is the expectation. Darian Menza just can't up and leave Duke after signing a deal and go to Miami. I mean, you talk about a kettle of fish for Jim Phillips, the commissioner of the ACC. I mean, what and ultimately silent on the topic. No one's saying anything. It's like it never happened. Dabo came out and gave you a point by point, listing of what Pete Golding, the head coach at Ole Miss, had done to tamper with Luke Farrelly, the kid that he just got from Cal, to come out there. He was in class, going to the weight room and working out with his team, and all of a sudden, the first question Pete Golding asks him on his text is, "What's your buyout? What are we teaching? This is supposed to be higher education. We are teaching how to rob and steal and cheat our way to championships." And listen, I don't hate the player. I just hate the game right now. And I just wish that those in charge, because we really have nobody in charge. Everybody's got it looking through the lens of what's best for the SEC, what's best for the ACC. No one's really looking at it what's best for the entirety of and the collegiate experience. And ultimately, I hope that we can come to our senses and get to that place.
Yeah, and I agree with that 100%, Rick. I mean, we have all these little fiefdoms that are looking out for their own self-interest.
Right. And you can't be mad at anybody. You can't be mad at – I mean, Greg Sankey, to me, is the ultimate leader. I mean, he just speaks to me like he could be a great politician. He's well thought out. He's intelligent. He's got experience. He's got everything you're looking for. The problem is he works for the SEC. And his job is to protect the interests of the 16 schools in the SEC and the presidents that employ him. That's his job. We need a Greg Sankey for the entirety. And Charlie Baker, while he's heading up, what we've called the NCAA forever, they've been absolutely pistol whipped by the legal system. Yeah. They are completely rendered neutered. That's why they're not fighting back on a lot of these issues. And they're trying to protect a basketball tournament that pays them handsomely. That's what they're doing.
Neutered was exactly the word I was going to use. And I agree with everything you're saying. The only thing I'll push back on and just give us a moment of pause is we are totally unprepared. I agree with you 100% for everything that's happening. But I think also of it is it's all happened so quick, Rick. I mean, we have been reactive instead of proactive, because the things that are occurring are things that we never dreamed would have happened, or we put on the back burner.
But we should have, Scott, because you go back and look at the Alston case, okay?
Yeah.
The Alston case was about a young person that wanted to go to Europe and be able to be paid and earn money to go to Europe and extend their education. And because of their status as an athlete, they couldn't do it, right? And the concept of amateurism was put forth as an argument as to why, if we opened this particular door, everybody was going to want to do more and more things. And because of the purity of amateurism, it was the bad idea. Well, basically what the NCAA, which is a conglomerate of all the universities who've all put their chips into the center of the table and said, okay, we're all going to handle this. And they're all of different economic structures, right? So the socioeconomics of all these different schools were completely different, which is why we went to the autonomous five a few years back, so that those who with the real resource could do more for the student athletes. But still, there was these reins on what we could do for student athletes. And the Alston case went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court unanimously, 9-0, said you guys are full of it. And that the dam broke. And when the dam broke, everything else that they were trying to hold back on, which was the ability to transfer, which was all that they realize Katie bar the door, and among them, name, image, and likeness. So now you've got a transfer portal that's run amok. You've got name, image, and likeness that's run amok, which really is pay for play. We've got all kinds of different state laws out there, and all of it was foreseeable. All of it was foreseeable. You just didn't want to open the door, and now the dam is burst, and getting it all back into it's like, what was that book where the feathers all came out of the pillow, right? And getting it all back in, forget it.
I want to put a pin in this for a moment, but I want to ask you this question, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm sure you'll give me a well thought out opinion. If Rick Neuheisel is the head coach of Alabama's basketball team, does he take Charles Bediako? Does he go down that path?
I don't know that I would have, but I can certainly understand why Nate Oates considered it and thought it was the best move for his team. Coaches are in positions where they are thought to think outside the box as to how to go about being successful at my job. And my job is not only to, shepherd these kids through a great learning experience while, playing basketball at the University of Alabama and making sure that we turn out great citizens and so forth. At the end of the day, you got to win games. I've had a number of different ADs shake my hand and say, what a great job you did. While they're showing me the door, right? Because and coaches know that all the time, because at the end of the day, the fans want to see you compete for championships. And if they don't see it, they want to know the next guy can. And that's how athletic directors have always used that as their weapon to wrangle more support, to wrangle more enthusiasm for the program, and it's a understandable world. It's not exactly as we probably would all like it, and it's changed rapidly because the ability to put together a program. I mean, Mike Krzyzewski, the great Duke coach, Coach K, I think was under 500 for like the first 4 or 5 years of his career. That he doesn't get that kind of time anymore today. That just doesn't happen, right? You see a guy like Kurt Signetti go and do what he did at Indiana by bringing 13 kids with him from James Madison. Everybody says, well, I want to do that. But how do I go get that done? Eric Morris just left North Texas to go to Oklahoma State. He's taking the quarterback. He's taking the running back. He's taking all the great pieces that made North Texas a fun program to watch this year. He's taking them to Oklahoma State. So there's a new way of doing things. So I understand why Coach Oates says, I need a big. Here he is. I'm seeing Scott Drew took an NBA guy, the guy who was drafted 31st in the NBA draft. What the heck? Why can't I have Charles? And I have a judge sitting right here in Tuscaloosa that'll say, you know what? You should be able to him. And by the way, as long as you can keep going for these temporary restraining orders to places where judges are elected by the a body of people that are all rooting for the U, you're going to get a lot of favorable responses.
Huey Long would love this whole situation. Rick, just a couple of minutes, please. And I've got a 2-point question for you, going back to the Ole Miss Clemson thing. And I want to get your reaction to this. Number one, Dabo, in my estimation, had to speak up because he's been the loudest about the current situation. If he hadn't, he would have been castrated professionally. He had to speak up. He couldn't let his program be violated and not defended. But two, I don't think other coaches have rallied around him like they should have, because every time you do that, you leave yourself open for criticism. What's your take on all that?
I think you've hit it on the head. Dabo is, unfortunately taken the role of the guy who says, stay off my lawn, right? For those who are, pro player movement and all that kind of stuff, it looks like he wants it all his old way. And I truly believe that Dabo wants it for all the right reasons, but I can see where the jaded can sit there and say, well, he was winning back in those old days. Of course he wants it that way, right? Where he was getting to stockpile all the talent. And for all the right reasons. He was getting, because of his recruiting ability and what they had, in terms of resources at Clemson, things were going splendidly well for him. And now his kids, like everybody else's roster are attracted to what's out there and a marketplace that is, burgeoning with, resources that, are attractive to not only the kids, but also the kids' families that are sitting there and go, wow, this is a revenue source we never counted on. That's pretty good stuff. It is interesting because he did call out a number of coaches while he was telling the chronicles of Luke Ferrelli and Pete Golding's dalliance with him. It did call out the number of coaches. You should have heard what happened to me. And yet those coaches have not come to light, at least publicly, to share all that stuff. And I understand why coaches look, I get all these stories myself, having been in the business and knowing still a number of those guys and having close relationships with a lot of people that are in the business as head coaches and hearing, their tales from the crypt, of people coming and going and the offers that are getting and, people calling in the middle of a season wanting more because this is happening. The offer they just got by, nature of a third party, whether it was an agent or a street runner or what the heck you call them. I think Dabo would like for more of that communication out there, but coaches are all stay in your lane. They got a good thing. They know how hard these jobs are. As an old coach once said to me, as hard as it is to become a head coach, it's a hell of a lot easier to become one than to stay one.
Yeah.
And therein lies why you're not getting a lot of conversation. No one wants to put any undue attention on themselves when they don't need to, knowing how hard the job is already.
Yeah, that was the shocking thing with me, that he actually named a name. I mean, we hadn't seen anything like that since Jimbo and Saban and Jimbo a few years ago. But this was next level because it's actual documentation.
And that actually was a misunderstanding because Nick was not calling out Jimbo for doing anything illegal. He just said he bought his recruiting class. Well, that we're all buying recruiting classes now, right? Where everybody's out there putting financial numbers on what you can afford for a kid to come to your school. And those numbers are being compared and contrasted against everybody else's. Nick was just saying he was speaking to the Alabama faithful that if we want to keep this run going, we're going to have to pony up. And therein lied why we see Nick Saban on the broadcast desk right now.
I appreciate your time. Before I let you go, I'd be remiss. You are coaching again.
Yes, sir.
What in the world made you come out of, you've got a cush deal. You've got a great radio show on SiriusXM, Channel 84. You've got a wonderful job with CBS. You play golf all over the planet. Why do you want to coach again?
Well, I'm not getting any better on the golf course. That's first, right? I still love to play, but I had this experience back in 2019 with the Alliance of American Football. We coached the Arizona Hotshots. Had a couple of my buddies from the past come and coach with me, and we had a blast. We ended up 5-3 in the league, and John Wolford, our quarterback, I think is still in the NFL. I think he earned something close to 25-30 million bucks. So it was a chance to give back, to coach a little bit, have fun, putting the X's and O's and game plans together, seeing kids get another chance. Nick Folk, or the kicker, is still kicking. Having given another chance in that particular league. So when the offer came, they called and said, would you want to do it? It's like putting the band back together. We'll go for a run, see if we like it. If we don't, we'll let somebody else have it next year. But I think it's going to be a blast. I don't have to give up either of the other two jobs. I'm going to do the radio. I'm going to do the CBS gig as long as they'll have me. I like being on teams, my friend. That's what I like. And so to put together another team, the Dallas Renegades is a treat. And hopefully the folks in come to the Frisco will enjoy it just as much as I do.
You just gave me all the feels, because there's nothing like a team. And I tell people all the time, the most inclusive place on the planet is a locker room. I mean,
that's right.
It's it's a sanctuary, and we don't care what color you are, we don't care where you're from. We really, it's the most inclusive place. And when you don't have that, I get what you're saying. You feel kind of lost.
Yeah, we could solve a lot of problems in a locker room. We can solve a lot of problems. We we realize the commitment that is required of everybody in it. And there's a lot that can go along with that in terms of solving all of today's problems. But that's for another show, my friend. That's for another show.
Rick Neuheisel, you are the absolute best. I appreciate your time today. Hit them straight, and I will chat with you again soon.
I look forward to it, my friend. All the best.
Alrighty. That's the great Rick Neuheisel. Rick's a fantastic guy. Just so much perspective and knowledge, and just a really good dude. And I totally related to him talking about how he loves being part of teams. And it is true, being a part of a team, man. If you've ever spent time on a team and then you find yourself not on a team, it's jarring. It's jarring. And I meant what I said. The locker room is the most inclusive place on the planet. There's nothing like it. And when you don't have it, you miss it. You don't miss it. And I agree with Rick. A lot of the world's problems will be solved if we can get everybody into a locker room. We'll be able to hash it out then. I appreciate his perspective on all the ails of college athletics. His candor with regards to the situation at Alabama. Would he take Charles Bediako if he were coaching the Alabama Crimson Tide? Would he explore that? Would he be the one who leads the charge to break through that ceiling of bringing in a professional player? And it's easy to say we wouldn't. It is. But until we're in that position, it's hard to say it with a lot of conviction. You understand? It's like the live golf thing. I'm a critic of live golf. I know what live golf is all about. Sports washing, to cover up and mask and distract from atrocities by Saudi Arabia, and I get it. But saying that, it's easy to be, stick by your principles and all that until somebody puts about $150 million in front of you and says, hey, why don't you go play 54 holes of golf? Now 72, but go play 54 holes of golf, shotgun start, only a few times a year for all this money. So I'm not going to be a hypocrite with that regard. So I don't hate on Nate Oates for taking it. I don't. I'm imploring the leadership of college athletics. I'm talking about a Greg Sankey, who Rick mentioned. I'm talking about a Jim Phillips, a Brett Yormark, Tony Petitti. All these guys come together for the common good of college athletics because a rising tide will raise all ships. If they can get on the same page, everybody will benefit. Right now, though, as I told Rick, it's all these individual fiefdoms, all these individual kingdoms worried about their own self-interest. They're all operating in silos, and it's chaos because there's no uniform set of guidelines or rules or anything to keep the whole system moving forward in a positive direction. Here's something I'll throw out there before we close out. Rick Neuheisel, commissioner of college football. I regret I did not ask him if he would take that title. I'll send him a text, let y'all know in future episodes. But this one we're closing out. I want to thank Rick for coming aboard. Be sure to check out Full Ride on SiriusXM Monday through Friday in the, I think around 10 a.m. I think that's when it comes on. Maybe 9 a.m. Eastern time. I might be misspoken. Remember, whatever you do for podcasts, follow, like, subscribe, whatever. Do it for this one. And hit me up on comments, or hit me up directly on Twitter, X. The DMs are open. Questions, comments, complaints, suggestions on topics. If there's a guest you want me to bring on and chat with, I'll try my best, my darndest, absolutely, to facilitate it and have a conversation with them, or whatever else is on your mind. Do you agree with Rick? Do you disagree with me? Let me know. Let's get some dialogue started. But otherwise, I've got some work to do. We've got a big weekend of college basketball ahead of us, and a seemingly never-ending stream of legal things I got to get brushed up on because, man, there's so much happening in court as opposed to on court. And my little feeble brain has a hard time keeping up. Hey, until next time, be safe.